want to just open it in a big way, this whistleblowing, then you'll find newspapers full of headings of all sorts, legitimate and not so legitimate, gray and not so gray and black and white, and you'll have a mess. So we don't want to be prescriptive on that. At the same time, we don't want to be oblivious of the need for having a mechanism whereby a proper mechanism should be there to address any unethical practices. And anybody can, in confidence, reach the board, and the mechanism has to be devised by the board itself. This has been not there in the code. For the first time, we are recommending to be there. With regard to the qualification of CFO, don't be alarmed. As far as members of the professional body of accountants are concerned, that provision continues to be there. But presently the court says that he could be a postgraduate in any subject. He could be a postgraduate in microbiology and he could be a CFO. He could be a doctor and he could be a CFO. We have made a little improvement and refinement in this. We have said a member of a recognized professional body or a postgraduate in finance from a recognized university. So this is an improvement over the existing one. And with regard to the last point, with regard to the definition of executive, as you know, under the fourth schedule, we had this provision for the last many years, a monetary benchmark up to which, I think it was what, 500,000, am I right? We thought that with all that inflation going on, 500,000 is not all that great. So we have not amended fourth schedule itself, but we have made a recommendation to the FCCP that when it comes to CEO and directors, regardless of the remuneration, but when it comes to the allowances and benefits of other people in the company, the monetary limit is proposed to be raised to rupees 5 million in a financial year. And we thought that 5 now, in Islamabad, anything higher than the salary of a section officer is material. So if they go by that yardstick, they will not buy this recommendation. But if in between 500,000 and 5 million, we think that 5 million for all those who report directly to the CEO is a good enough benchmark, and for various disclosure and governance purposes, the definition of executive should be so amended. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the fruits of labor of Mr. Chairman's PICG's task force. He himself has been a very, very ardent member of the task force, and each of the members, I must say, I must record my appreciation for them, that they gave in a great deal of time, each meeting lasting for almost sometimes 2 to 3 hours, and there have been numerous meetings over a period of over two years. And the task is not yet over by any means. It is just that we have had exposure, we have had feedback, we have this sort of thing conveyed to the SCCP. I am told Mr. Chairman will apprise you perhaps in greater detail. SCCP must be doing its own homework, and I cannot tell you when it will see the light of the day, but I have the hope, and hoping not against hope based on our past 2002 experience, that it will see the light of the day, either in its own original form or in whatever modification the SCCP in its own wisdom deems fit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Siddharth Sahab. Your presentation was very informative and excellent. Now we'll have a question and answer session, and during that session you may ask any questions on the topic. So please feel free, and we hope that you will contribute to make this session highly interactive. Now the floor is open for questions.
Thank you.
It said that the auditors should be changed after every 5 years, and that after a big uproar, that condition was withdrawn. In fact, the case went to the Sindh High Court and all these places, because principally it was assumed that the appointment of auditors is the right of the shareholders. Now again, we are, hitting the right of the shareholder. The appointment of directors is basically the right of the shareholders. Why we are qualifying that right of the shareholders for the appointment of directors? Number one. I mean, there are repercussions for that we can deliberate, but the reason is that if a shareholder appoints a director, then he has to make certain, it's a big decision for the shareholder to appoint certain person as a director. His understanding of the business and the knowledge of the business. We do not expect anyone to overnight understand the dynamics of that particular business, like oil and gas industry. We need specialized people to appoint for that. So I think the right to appoint the directors is primarily rests with the shareholders. Law has given that right to him, and it would be slightly unfair if we put a check on that right. Right? My second question is that, sir, in the Code of Corporate Governance 2002, we imposed a condition on the corporate sector of the country for the half-year audit. Does it create any value addition for the half-year audit? I think we should do away with that. Already cost of doing business in this country is very high. And the half-year audit, good companies are prepare monthly accounts. Every month they prepare their monthly accounts. If anyone wants monthly account, they voluntarily give that monthly account to anyone. But half-year audit is an unnecessary exercise and unnecessary burden on the corporate sector of this country. The last one is that about the board development series. It's a fantastic idea. I think the people in the board must learn their rights and responsibilities. My humble suggestion is that, sir, those who are already on the board for the last 20 years or those who are suitably qualified, they should be given exemption to attend these kind of courses. Like if I appoint a leading lawyer at my board and he is required to come to the PICG or any other institution for the purpose of attending the course, it would be unfair, I believe. Thank you.
To put a curb on the right of the shareholders to appoint the directors. To the best of my recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, none of our recommendations is putting a curb on the right of the shareholders to appoint the directors or to elect the directors. That particular right remains unfettered. Okay? They are the ones who should elect the directors. And the law and the code does not interfere with that at all. All that the code says, and globally all the governance codes, you will find this, that as far as the composition is concerned, there is a certain provision to impart a sense of balance in this whole composition. So we are not curbing, we are not taking away from the shareholders the right either wholly or partially, not the least. There is no provision in company law, there is no provision in the code, and no provision in the recommendations as well. That right continues to be there. It only says what particular category of people, okay, you've got executive directors, you've got non-executive directors, and then you've got non-executive independent directors. But whom to bring there, Mr. A, B or C, that remains the shareholders as is there at present. There is no interference in that. That is number one. Your view, I respect your view, but I beg to differ with that half-yearly audits. Now, half-yearly audits, as you know, is not a full-scope audit at all. It is a limited scope review. And I think most of the people who are even in industry would bear me out that this half-year limited scope review has a great deal of merit to commend itself, for the simple reason that instead of piling up your entire sort of issues that are there for the whole year and just to be tackled at the time when you are hard pressed of time, because now the time frame to approve and publish the financial statements is shorter than what it used to be in the past. We started under the 1913 regime with 6 months time. Then it was brought down to 3. And then after great hue and cry from the corporate sector, it was again raised to 4. Okay? So half-year limited scope review is not all that a burden on the corporate sector. Indeed, it helps them to identify the problems well in time so that before the year end, and when the final audit is to take place, those particular issues are sorted out. If you need any external advice from your lawyers, from any other consultants, you are prepared for that. So I don't think that the cost-benefit ratio is all that disturbed or offended there. With regard to the knowledge and experience of people who have been on the board for 20 years, if you allow me to be a little more candid on this,